Under the Pacific, a city is supposed to be lying wrong. Not ruined. Wrong. Its walls do not agree with the human eye, and inside it, a thing the cult calls dead is waiting in a state too active to feel like death. That is Cthulhu. And he is not even the worst one. Lovecraftian monsters are usually sold as tentacles, slime, wings, and screaming mouths. That is the easy version. The sharper question is what each creature does to the person who finds it. Does it take your sanity? Your body? Your family line? Your place in the universe? Or does it simply prove that the universe was never built with you in mind? So this is 9 Lovecraftian monsters. What they are, what they do, and why a few of them should not be called monsters at all. If you want strange horror explained without the fog machine, subscribe to Velis. Start with the one everybody knows, because Cthulhu is famous for a reason. Cthulhu is the face on the poster. Octopus head, wings, claws, a body too large for the human witness to measure cleanly. But the scary part is not that he is big. A whale is big. A storm is big. Cthulhu is terrifying because he is not supposed to be active and still somehow reaches people. In the Call of Cthulhu, he lies in the sunken city of Nyarlathotep beneath the Pacific in a death-like sleep. Cultists wait for the stars to become right. Sensitive minds receive dreams. Artists make images they cannot explain. Sailors who see Nyarlathotep do not just find a monster. They find geometry that behaves like a trap. That is the part the merch usually leaves out. Cthulhu does not need to chase the whole world. He just has to dream loudly enough for the world to start answering. If he wakes, the first disaster is not buildings falling. It is people. Azathoth is what happens when the top of the cosmic food chain has no plan. The Mythos calls him the blind idiot god, the daemon sultan, the thing at the center of ultimate chaos. Around him, the stories place thin flutes, mindless dancers, and a throne so far outside ordinary space that calling it a throne already makes it too human. Most gods in horror want something. Worship, revenge, a gate opened, a child born under the wrong star. Azathoth is worse because desire would give you leverage. He does not scheme. He does not hate. He does not select victims. He is vast, mindless force at the center of everything, and the running joke is almost too bleak to be funny. Reality might be balanced on something that does not know it is balancing anything. So the warning is blunt. Hope he never wakes up. That is not just a monster threat. That is a cosmology with no adult in the room. Nyarlathotep is the one that should bother you most in a crowded street. Most of the huge cosmic beings are distant. They sleep under seas, brood beyond stars, or sit at the center of chaos where no ordinary person can knock on the door. Nyarlathotep walks. Lovecraft calls him the crawling chaos, but the useful detail is that he often appears in a human shape. He is not just another sleeping god. He is a messenger, a showman, a corrupter, the active hand of powers that usually feel unreachable. That changes the fear. With Cthulhu, the nightmare rises from below. With Azathoth, it waits at the center of everything. With Nyarlathotep, it can rent a hall, stand under electric lights, show people something they should not understand, and leave the crowd worse than he found it. He is cosmic horror with a speaking voice. That is why he feels modern. He does not need a temple. He needs an audience. Dagon is where the ocean stops being scenery. In Lovecraft's short story Dagon, the narrator finds a carved monolith and a vast fish-like shape that makes the human mind reach for old religious language because normal animal language is not enough. Later, in The Shadow over Innsmouth, Father Dagon becomes the name at the center of a coastal religion with oaths, locked rooms, sea gold, and people who do not quite look like their neighbors anymore. There is a useful ambiguity here. Is Dagon a god? A massive, deep one? A biblical name pasted onto something older and wetter? The story never cleans that up for us. And honestly, cleaning it up would make it weaker. Because Dagon is the fear of worship growing out of need. A failing town gets fish. It gets gold. It gets long life. Then the bill arrives in the bloodline. By the time anyone calls it a cult, the harbor already belongs to something else. The deep ones are not just fish people. That sounds too neat, almost safe. A fish person is a costume. A deep one is a contract with gills. In the shadow over Innsmouth, they are an amphibious ocean-dwelling species tied to Father Dagon, Mother Hydra, and Cthulhu. They live in submerged cities like Ghatanothoa, and they make deals with isolated human communities. The offer is practical at first: better fishing, gold from the deep, a life that does not end the way ordinary human life ends. Then come the oaths, then the marriages, then the children who look human until the face begins to change and the sea starts feeling less like a place and more like a home calling them back. The deep ones are scary because they do not simply kill a town. They let it survive long enough to become theirs. That is a colder kind of invasion. No army on the beach. Just shutters, rumors, and families slowly turning toward the water. Here is the midpoint turn. Not every Lovecraftian horror is a god. Some of them have equipment. The Mygo, or fungi from Shoggoth, come from the Whisperer in darkness. They are winged, fungoid, crustacean-like beings associated with Shoggoth, which the story links to Pluto. On Earth, they are connected with remote places like the Vermont Hills. That already sounds bad. Then you reach the medical part. The Mygo are not just lurking in the mountains. They are technologically advanced, especially in surgery and neuroscience. Their most famous trick is removing a living human brain and placing it inside a cylinder where it can be attached to devices for sight, hearing, and speech. The clean explanation is alien science. The horrible explanation is alien science, because the Mygo do not treat the human body as sacred. They treat it as a container with removable parts. And if they take you, the terrifying possibility is not that you die. It is that you remain available. A Shoggoth is what happens when a tool learns resentment. At the Mountains of Madness, Shoggoths are living construction machinery, engineered by the Elder Things. They are shapeless, protoplasmic masses that can form organs, limbs, eyes, mouths, and whatever else the moment requires. At first, that makes them useful. Then, it makes them impossible to control. Lovecraft's Antarctic story turns them from servants into a warning. The Elder Things built cities with them, leaned on them, commanded them, and eventually discovered that a slave made of adaptable flesh can adapt past obedience. The Shoggoth is not elegant horror. It is industrial horror. It bubbles, imitates, crushes, absorbs. It is the basement of civilization coming upstairs. And the worst detail is not its shape. It has no final shape. The worst detail is the echo of work. Something made to build the world has learned how to use the same strength to erase whoever is standing in front of it. Shub-Niggurath is usually introduced with the title everyone remembers, the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young. That title does a lot of damage before the creature even arrives. Lovecraft himself barely describes her directly. She is called on in chants, tied to fertility, motherhood, woods, cults, and monstrous offspring. Later Mythos material builds the image into something like a cloud of mouths, tentacles, goat shapes, and endless birth. But the lack of a clean description helps. Shub-Niggurath is not scary because nature is evil. That is too simple. She is scary because creation has been stripped of comfort. Birth becomes multiplication without mercy. The forest becomes a nursery for things that should not be growing. Worshippers do not ask for wisdom or salvation. They ask to be changed, favored, bred into the system. That is the part that sticks. With Shub-Niggurath, the horror is not death. It is life continuing in a form that makes death look merciful. Ghatanothoa is the one you do not look at. In Out of the Aeons, written by Lovecraft for Hazel Heald, Ghatanothoa is sealed beneath Mount Yadith-Go on the lost continent of Mu. The cult fears it, worships it, and sacrifices to keep it from emerging. That sounds familiar until you reach the curse. Seeing Ghatanothoa, or even seeing a true image of it, does not simply kill you. It petrifies you into a living mummy. The body becomes fixed. The skin hardens. The organs remain preserved. The brain stays aware. That is why this is the last monster on the list. It removes the final mercy. Cthulhu can drive you mad. The Mygo can remove your brain. The Deep Ones can rewrite your family. But Ghatanothoa leaves you inside the evidence. Not dead enough to escape. Not alive enough to move. Just conscious, trapped in a body that has become its own locked room. So the 9 monsters are not scary for the same reason. Cthulhu removes sanity at a distance. Azathoth removes intention from the universe. Nyarlathotep removes the comfort of cosmic distance. Dagon and the Deep Ones remove safety from the shore and the family line. The Mygo remove ownership of the body. The Shoggoth removes control over the tools we build. Shub-Niggurath removes comfort from life itself, and Ghatanothoa removes the mercy of death. That is why Lovecraftian monsters last longer than their designs. Tentacles are easy to draw. The real fear is harder to put on a thumbnail, a world where humans are not the center, not the owner, not the final witness, and not even guaranteed a clean ending. So which one would break first? Your sanity? Your body? Your bloodline? Or your need to believe the universe has a plan? Leave your answer in the comments, subscribe to Velis, and watch the next file if you want another strange horror taken apart without the hype.